The metallic taste of fear flooded Maya Chen's mouth as rough hands shoved her into the leather chair. Blood trickled from her split lip, warm and copper-bright against her pale skin. "You're missing teeth," the man said, his voice smooth as expensive whiskey. He leaned forward into the harsh, fluorescent light of her father's dental clinic, and Maya's breath caught. Dark hair swept back from a face that belonged in Renaissance paintings, all sharp angles and dangerous beauty. His charcoal suit probably cost more than her car. "Give me a name." "I don't know what you're talking about," Maya whispered, trying to keep her voice steady even as her hands trembled in her lap. The clinic her father had built over 30 years, the place where she'd learned to walk, where she'd done homework at the reception desk, where she'd watched him heal people with gentle hands and patience, was now filled with 6 men who moved like predators. Men in dark suits. Men with cold eyes. The beautiful man tilted his head, studying her with eyes so dark they appeared black in the overhead light. "Your father, where is he?" Maya's voice cracked. "He's at a conference in Seattle. He won't be back until Tuesday." It was Sunday night. She'd come to the clinic to catch up on billing, just routine paperwork, still wearing her weekend clothes, jeans and an oversized sweater, her blonde hair pulled into a messy bun. She'd been humming along to music, completely unaware that 3 days ago her father had made a terrible mistake. Seattle. The man straightened, brushing an invisible speck from his sleeve. Even that small gesture held a kind of violent grace. "How convenient. Your father performed a procedure on my associate 3 days ago. Removed 2 wisdom teeth. By Friday morning, my associate was in the hospital with a severe infection. By Friday night, he'd developed sepsis." Maya's stomach dropped. That's not possible. My father is meticulous. He follows every protocol. By Saturday morning," the man continued, his voice dropping to something soft and infinitely more terrifying, "my associate was dead." The room seemed to tilt. Maya gripped the arms of the dental chair, her knuckles white. No, that can't be right. My father would never. There must be some mistake. Infections can happen despite proper care. Sometimes bacteria. The man's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Is that what you think this is about? Medical complications?" He moved closer, and Maya could smell his cologne. Something dark and expensive, cedar and smoke. "Your father used contaminated instruments. He cut corners. He got lazy. And because of his negligence, one of my best men is in the ground." "You're wrong," Maya said, but even she could hear the uncertainty creeping into her voice. Her father had seemed distracted lately. Tired. He'd mentioned money problems, stress about keeping the clinic running as insurance. Reimbursements dropped, and overhead costs climbed. But careless? Never. "My father has been a dentist for 32 years. He's never. I don't care about his resume." The man crouched down, bringing himself to eye level with Maya. This close, she could see a thin scar cutting through his left eyebrow, a small imperfection in an otherwise flawless face. "I care about justice. My associate had a wife, 3 children. The youngest is 4 years old. Who's going to tell her why Daddy isn't coming home?" Tears burned behind Maya's eyes, but she blinked them back. "I'm sorry. I'm truly, deeply sorry for your loss. But hurting me won't bring him back." "No," the man agreed. He reached out and Maya flinched, but he only tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear with surprising gentleness. "But it will send a message. Actions have consequences. Negligence has consequences. Your father took someone from me, so I'm going to take someone from him. Please." The word came out broken. "Please, I'm his only child. His only family. Killing me won't." "Who said anything about killing?" The man stood, buttoning his suit jacket with practiced ease. "No, death is too quick, too merciful. By the time the sun sets tomorrow, 9 men will have their teeth removed. Forcibly, painfully, without anesthesia. Starting with everyone who works in this clinic." Maya's mind raced. "There's no one else. It's just my father and me. I'm his hygienist. We have a receptionist. But she only works 3 days a week, and she's 67 years old. You can't. So, his colleagues, other dentists in the area. I'm sure he has professional relationships, friends in the field. You're insane, Maya breathed. I'm motivated, the man corrected. There's a difference. You have until sunset tomorrow to give me names. 9 people who share responsibility for the culture of negligence that killed my associate. 9 people who taught your father that cutting corners was acceptable. 9 people who enabled his carelessness. He pulled a business card from his pocket, placed it on the tray of dental instruments beside the chair. My number, when you're ready to cooperate. And if I don't? He smiled then, and it was like watching winter settle over a landscape. Then I start with you, and I don't stop until your father wishes I'd just put a bullet in his head instead. The men filed out, their footsteps echoing on the linoleum floor. Maya sat frozen in the chair long after the door clicked shut, staring at the business card. No name, just a phone number embossed in black ink. Her hands shook as she pulled out her phone and dialed her father. Maya? Sweetheart, it's almost midnight there. What's wrong? Dad, her voice cracked. Dad, 3 days ago, you removed wisdom teeth from someone. The patient. Did anything go wrong? Did you notice anything unusual? The pause on the other end of the line stretched too long. Why are you asking me this? Because men just came to the clinic. They said their associate died from an infection after a procedure. They said you used contaminated instruments. They said, oh God. Her father's voice dissolved into something she'd never heard before, raw fear. Oh God, Maya, you need to leave. Right now. Get out of there. Go to the police. Don't go home. Just, it's too late. They already left. But Dad, they're giving me until tomorrow at sunset to provide 9 names. 9 people to take the fall for what happened. People they're going to... She couldn't say it. Maya, listen to me very carefully. Her father's breathing came harsh and rapid over the phone. The patient who died, he wasn't just anyone. He was connected to the Volkov organization. Do you understand what that means? Maya's blood turned to ice. She'd lived in Chicago her whole life. Everyone knew about the Volkov family, even if they pretended not to. They were the ghost story parents told their children, the name whispered in certain neighborhoods, the reason some businesses thrived while others mysteriously burned down. You're telling me you performed dental work on a mob enforcer and somehow gave him a fatal infection? I don't know what happened, her father said, and now he sounded like he was crying. I followed every protocol. I sterilized everything. The procedure was routine. I've done thousands of extractions. Thousands, Maya. I don't know how this could have... Did you cut corners? The question came out harder than she intended. Did you reuse something? Skip a step? Dad, I need the truth. The silence stretched so long she thought he'd hung up. The autoclave has been broken for 2 weeks, he finally said, barely audible. I've been using chemical sterilization. It should have been enough. It's supposed to be enough. But the clinic has been hemorrhaging money, and the repair would have cost $15,000. And I thought I could make it work until... Maya closed her eyes. You gambled. With people's lives. And you lost. I know. God help me. I know. But Maya, you can't give them names. These people, they're not bound by laws or mercy or human decency. If you give them 9 names, they'll hurt 9 people. Permanently. And then they'll probably come back for more because that's what they do. They never stop. So what am I supposed to do? Maya demanded. Let them start with me instead? Go to the police. Tell them everything. Maybe witness protection. Dad, we both know the Volkov organization has people everywhere. Going to the police might just speed up the timeline. She stood on shaking legs, looking around the clinic that suddenly felt like a crime scene. Her entire childhood, built on a foundation that had just cracked open to reveal rot underneath. I'll figure something out. Maya, no. Whatever you're thinking? She hung up. For a long time, she just stood there in the empty clinic, fluorescent lights humming overhead, the card with its embossed number sitting on the instrument tray like a snake. Then she picked it up and dialed. He answered on the first ring. That was fast. I want to make a deal, Maya said. I don't make deals. You want justice for your associate. I understand that. I respect that even. But you're targeting the wrong people. The 9 people you're threatening to hurt. They had nothing to do with what happened. They're innocent. Innocence is a luxury, the man said. In my world, association is guilt enough. Then hurt me instead. The words came out before she could second-guess them. I work at the clinic. I assist with procedures. If you want someone to pay for what happened, let it be me. Just me. Leave everyone else out of it. The silence that followed felt like standing on the edge of a cliff. You're offering yourself in exchange for 9 strangers who probably wouldn't do the same for you? I'm offering myself in exchange for 9 innocent people who don't deserve to suffer, because my father made a terrible mistake. Interesting. She could hear something in his voice now, a note of genuine curiosity. And what makes you think your suffering would satisfy the debt? Maya took a breath. Because hurting me will destroy my father more than anything else you could do. You want him to pay? You want him to live with consequences? Take me. And make sure he knows it was his negligence that put me there. Another pause. Then, you're either very brave or very stupid. Probably both, Maya admitted. Her heart hammered against her ribs so hard she thought it might crack them. Do we have a deal? No. The word hit like a physical blow. What? I don't want your martyrdom, the man said. Self-sacrifice has no teeth, pun intended. You'd suffer, sure, but you'd do it with the moral superiority of knowing you saved others. Where's the justice in that? Then what do you want? Maya demanded, frustration bleeding through fear. Come to the address I'm about to text you. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Come alone. Don't tell your father. If you do, if you bring police, if you try anything clever, my original plan proceeds. 9 men by sunset. Understood? I don't... Understood? Yes, Maya whispered. Good girl. He hung up. Maya's phone buzzed a moment later with an address in a part of the city where people like her didn't go. Where buildings crouched between industry and decay, where the streetlights were always broken, where police cars rolled past a little faster than they should. She didn't sleep that night. Just sat in her apartment staring at the address, wondering what she'd just agreed to. At 8:30 the next morning, Maya stood in front of a warehouse that looked abandoned. Broken windows, graffiti crawling up brick walls. No signs, no markings, nothing to indicate anyone actually used this place. She checked the address 3 times. This was it. Her finger hesitated over the doorbell, surprisingly modern, out of place on the weathered frame, before she pressed it. The door opened immediately as if someone had been watching. The man from last night stood there in different clothes. Dark jeans, a black sweater that probably cost more than her month's rent. His hair was slightly damp, like he'd just showered. In the morning light streaming through the broken windows behind him, he looked younger than she'd thought. Maybe early 30s. You came, he said. Not a question. You threatened 9 people. What choice did I have? He smiled faintly. You always have choices. Come in. Maya stepped inside, and the door closed behind her with a finality that made her stomach drop. The interior wasn't what she'd expected. Yes, it was a warehouse, but someone had converted it into something else. Living space, maybe. Workspace. The exposed brick was intentional, artistic. Industrial lighting hung from the ceiling. Expensive furniture arranged in conversation areas. It was like walking into an architect's fever dream, brutal and beautiful in equal measure. This way. He led her deeper into the space, past rooms she couldn't see into, down a corridor that should have felt threatening, but somehow didn't. His footsteps were silent. Hers echoed. They emerged into what looked like a study. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a massive desk, windows that had been replaced, not broken, offering a view of the Chicago skyline in the distance. Sit, he said, gesturing to a leather chair. Maya sat. Her mouth was dry. Are you going to tell me your name? Or should I keep thinking of you as the terrifying mobster who invaded my life? His lips twitched. Nikolai Volkov. Of course, not just connected to the organization. The organization. Yes. Maya swallowed hard. And the associate who died. He was my cousin, Alexei. He was 34. He coached his daughter's soccer team. He was teaching his son to play piano. He collected vintage motorcycles and made terrible jokes, and remembered everyone's birthday. Nikolai's voice remained even, but something flickered in his eyes. And he died screaming in a hospital bed because your father couldn't be bothered to properly sterilize his equipment. I know you want me to defend him, Maya said quietly, but I can't. What he did was inexcusable, negligent, criminal even. If you want to report him to the dental board, press charges, sue him for everything he's worth. I'll support you. I'll testify. But please don't hurt innocent people. Nikolai studied her for a long moment. Then he opened a drawer in his desk and pulled out a folder. Do you know what this is? Maya shook her head. Background check. On you. On your father. On everyone who's ever worked at that clinic. He flipped it open. Maya Chen, 26 years old. Graduated top of your class from hygienist school. You've worked at your father's clinic for 4 years. Before that, you worked at a community health center providing free dental care to homeless populations. You volunteer at a women's shelter teaching basic dental hygiene. You donate 20% of your paycheck to charity. You've never even had a parking ticket. He looked up, and there was something unreadable in his expression. You're not the person who should pay for your father's sins, he said, which creates a problem for me. Maya's pulse quickened. What kind of problem? I can't let this go unanswered. My family, my organization, we have rules. Someone kills one of us, we respond. Always. If we don't, we look weak. If we look weak, we become targets. More people die. It's a brutal calculus, but it keeps a certain order. So, you're going to hurt 9 people just to maintain your reputation? No, Nikolai said. I'm going to offer you an alternative. He stood, walking to the window, hands in his pockets. His silhouette against the skyline should have looked pretentious. Instead, it looked lonely. My cousin died because of negligence in the medical field, he said. Because someone decided profit margins mattered more than human lives. Because someone thought they could cut corners and no one would notice. Because the system that's supposed to prevent these things failed. He turned back to face her. How many other dentists are out there right now making the same choices your father made? How many broken autoclaves? How many reused instruments? How many patients at risk because someone decided $15,000 was too much to spend on safety? Maya's throat tightened. She'd wondered the same thing in the dark hours of last night. How many other clinics were cutting corners? How many other practitioners were gambling with lives? I want to fix it, Nikolai said, and you're going to help me. I don't understand. You're going to work for me. For the next year, you're going to help me identify and expose every dental practice in Chicago that's operating below standard. Every corner cutter, every negligent practitioner, every clinic that's putting profit over safety. You'll have unlimited resources, full access to my organization's connections. You'll pose as patients, conduct inspections, gather evidence. And when we find violations, we'll report them to the proper authorities. Through legal channels. We'll shut them down. Save lives. Prevent what happened to Alexei from happening to anyone else. Maya stared at him. You want me to be some kind of vigilante dental inspector? I want you to do what the system should already be doing, but isn't, Nikolai corrected. And in exchange, no one gets hurt. Not you. Not 9 random people. Not anyone. Your father will face legal consequences for what he did. I'll make sure of that. But it will be through courts and lawyers, not violence. And if I refuse, his expression hardened, then we revert to the original plan. 9 people by sunset. And I'll make sure your father knows you could have prevented it. It wasn't a choice. Not really. But as Maya sat there, looking at this beautiful, dangerous man who was offering her a chance to turn tragedy into something meaningful, she realized she didn't want to refuse. 1 year? She asked. 1 year. And I have your word no one else gets hurt? You have my word. Maya took a breath, exhaled, stood, walked to where he stood by the window and extended her hand. Then you have a deal, Nikolai Volkov. His hand engulfed hers, warm and calloused in ways she hadn't expected. Deal, Maya Chen. Neither of them let go right away. Why are you really doing this? Maya asked quietly. You could just hurt people. That would be easier, faster, more in line with what people expect from you. Nikolai's thumb brushed across her knuckles, a gesture so small and unexpected it made her breath catch. Because Alexei wouldn't want revenge. He'd want prevention. He'd want other families protected. And because... He paused, something vulnerable flickering across his features. Because I'm tired of being the monster in every story. Maybe this time I can be something else. You're still forcing me into this, Maya pointed out. Yes, he agreed. I'm not that reformed, but I'm trying. The corner of Maya's mouth twitched. That's possibly the strangest thing anyone has ever said while essentially holding me hostage. Technically, you're a consultant now. Very different. Kidnapping versus consulting. Such a fine line. The line is blurrier than you'd think. They were still holding hands. Maya became acutely aware of how close they were standing, how his cologne smelled like cedar and smoke and something darker, how his eyes weren't actually black, but the deepest brown she'd ever seen. She pulled her hand away. When do we start? Tonight. I'll have my people gather a list of clinics we suspect are operating below standard. You'll review them, help us prioritize. We'll need to discuss your cover stories, your training, my training? Nikolai smiled, and this time it reached his eyes. Did you think you'd just walk into clinics and ask nicely if they're breaking regulations? No, Maya Chen. I'm going to teach you how to lie, how to deceive, how to spot tells and manipulate conversations, and extract information without anyone realizing what you're doing. I'm going to teach you to operate in my world. That sounds dangerous, illegal, morally questionable. I was going to say necessary, Maya said, if we're going to actually make a difference. Something shifted in Nikolai's expression. Respect, maybe, or interest. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? More tears, more pleading, more helplessness. Oh, I'm terrified, Maya said honestly, but crying won't save anyone. Action will, so let's take action. Nikolai laughed then, a real laugh, surprised and genuine. You're going to be trouble, aren't you? Probably, Maya. Agreed. Is that a problem? No, he said, and his eyes held hers with an intensity that made heat curl low in her stomach. I'm starting to think it's exactly what I need. The sun was setting when Maya finally left the warehouse, armed with a burner phone, a list of 20 clinics to research, and a head full of information about dental regulation violations she'd never considered. Nikolai had spent hours briefing her, his hands moving as he talked, his passion for the project evident in every word. This wasn't about revenge anymore, she realized. Or maybe it had never been. Maybe it was about a man who'd lost someone he loved and was desperately trying to find meaning in the loss. Trying to make it count for something. Her phone buzzed as she walked to her car. The regular phone, not the burner. Dad, Maya, please call me. I'm getting on a flight home. We need to talk to lawyers. Please be safe. She typed back. I'm safe. Handled it. Don't come home yet. Trust me. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Dad. What did you do? Maya. Something right, for once. She didn't explain. Her father would find out eventually. Probably when federal inspectors showed up at his clinic. when lawyers came calling, when the consequences of his negligence finally caught up with him. But that was future Maya's problem. Tonight, she had 20 clinics to research, and a year of working alongside the most dangerous man in Chicago to figure out. The first month was brutal. Maya spent her days learning to lie convincingly. Nikolai was a demanding teacher, patient but exacting. He'd grill her on cover stories until she could recite them without hesitation. He'd throw curveballs, unexpected questions, challenges to her narrative, and make her improvise. "You freeze when you're caught off guard," he told her one evening in his warehouse. They'd been at it for 6 hours, and Maya's head pounded with exhaustion. "Your eyes go slightly left. Your breathing changes. Anyone paying attention would know you're lying." "Not everyone is a professional criminal who reads micro-expressions for a living," Maya shot back. "No, but some people are naturally suspicious. Some people have been lied to enough times to recognize the signs. And if you walk into the wrong clinic and arouse suspicion, they'll shut down everything before we can document it. People will stay at risk. More patients will get hurt. Is that what you want?" "Of course not. Then again, from the top. You're a new patient. You're nervous about dental work. You want to tour the facility before committing. Make me believe you." They ran through it again, and again, and again until Maya could lie so smoothly it scared her a little. But the investigation work, that was where she came alive. The first clinic they targeted was on the south side, a practice that advertised suspiciously cheap rates. Maya walked in as a nervous patient, asked to see the sterilization area, and quietly documented everything with a camera disguised as a button on her coat. The autoclave had a broken seal. The instrument trays showed signs of rust. Used needles sat in a sharps container that was overfilled to the point of dangerous. She reported everything to Nikolai that night, her hands shaking with anger. There were children in that waiting room, children, and the dentist was working with equipment that— "I know," Nikolai said quietly. He'd pulled up the photos on his laptop, his expression grim. "I'll have my lawyer file a report with the state board tomorrow. Anonymous tip. They'll have to investigate. Will it be enough?" "It will be a start." By the end of the first month, they'd documented violations at 8 clinics. By the end of the second month, 3 had been shut down pending investigation. By the third month, Maya had refined her techniques so well she could conduct an entire reconnaissance mission without anyone suspecting she was anything other than an anxious potential patient. And somewhere in all of that, somewhere between late-night strategy sessions and early morning debriefs, somewhere between Nikolai teaching her to spot lies and Maya teaching him about proper dental protocols, something shifted. She started noticing small things. The way he took his coffee, black, no sugar, but he always added sugar to hers without being asked. The way he listened when she talked, giving her his complete attention like she was the only person in the world. The way his hand would brush hers when he passed her documents, lingering just a second too long. "You're staring," Nikolai said one evening. They were in his study, reviewing case files. The city lights glittered beyond the window. Maya blinked. "Sorry, I was just thinking." About? About how strange this is. 4 months ago, you were the most terrifying person I'd ever met. Now She stopped. "Now you what?" "Now I look forward to seeing you," she admitted. "Which is probably just Stockholm Syndrome." "Stockholm Syndrome requires captivity," Nikolai said. "You're free to leave anytime." "Am I, though? This deal was for a year." "The deal was that you work for me for a year. It didn't specify that you had to like it. It didn't specify that we had to become—" He paused, searching for the word. "Friends?" Maya supplied. "I was going to say partners, but friends works too." "Partners?" The word hung in the air between them, heavy with implications neither of them addressed. Maya stood, stretching, trying to shake off the tension. "I should go. Early clinic visit tomorrow. That practice on Halstead. The one with the suspected Medicare fraud?" "That's the one." Nikolai stood too, walking her to the door like he always did. A gentlemanly gesture that seemed at odds with everything else about him. "Be careful. The owner has a temper." I'll be fine. I've handled worse. Have you? Maya smiled. I survived meeting you, didn't I? Barely, Nikolai said, and there was something in his voice that made her pause. They stood in the doorway, close enough that Maya could see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes, could count his eyelashes if she wanted to. Maya? He said softly. Yes? If you ever want out, really want out, just say the word. The deal be damned. I won't hold you to it. Why would you? Because this was never supposed to be a prison, and because I... He stopped, jaw tightening. Just know you have that option. Maya's heart hammered. I don't want out. No? No. I believe in what we're doing. I believe we're making a difference. And She took a breath. I trust you, which is possibly insane, but there it is. Nikolai's hand came up, cupping her face with a gentleness that made her ache. Not insane. Or if it is, we're both crazy. He leaned in, and Maya's eyes fluttered closed, and his phone rang. Nikolai pulled back, cursing in what sounded like Russian. I'm sorry. I have to... Answer it. It's fine. I'll see you tomorrow. Maya practically fled to her car, her face burning, her lips tingling with the ghost of a kiss that hadn't happened. That night, she couldn't sleep, just lay in bed, wondering what would have happened if that phone hadn't rung, wondering if she wanted it to happen, wondering if she was falling for a man who'd terrorized her just 4 months ago. The answer should have been no. Should have been obvious, but her heart had apparently missed that memo. The breakthrough came in month 5. They'd been investigating a chain of dental clinics, 3 locations, all owned by the same company, all with suspiciously high rates of necessary procedures. Maya had visited all 3 as a patient, and the pattern was clear. Aggressive upselling, questionable diagnoses, and equipment that skirted the edge of acceptable. But they needed proof. Something concrete. Something that would hold up in court. I need to get access to their central office, Maya told Nikolai. Their records, their communications with the dentists, their actual protocols versus what they claim. It's the only way to prove systematic fraud versus isolated incidents. Breaking and entering, Nikolai said. That's a significant escalation, says the mobster. Former mobster. I'm reformed, remember? Mostly, sometimes, when convenient. Maya laughed despite herself. So will you help me or not? Nikolai studied her for a long moment. Then he smiled, that dangerous smile that still made her pulse quicken. I thought you'd never ask. They planned it like a heist movie. Nikolai had contacts who could disable alarm systems, pick locks, hack security cameras. Maya had dental expertise to know what documents would be most damning. Together, they were formidable. The night of the break-in, Maya met Nikolai at the warehouse. He handed her all black clothes, fitted, flexible, expensive. No ski masks? Maya asked. Ski masks make you look suspicious. Confidence and a good cover story work better. If anyone sees us, we're insurance inspectors following up on a claim. We have appointments. We just got the date wrong. Will they believe that? They will if you sell it. They drove to the office building in Nikolai's car. Something sleek and German that probably went 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds. Maya's nerves jangled like alarm bells, but Nikolai was calm, focused. Breathe, he told her. Fear makes you sloppy. I'm not afraid. You're terrified, but you're doing it anyway. That's courage. The building was dark when they arrived, security minimal. Nikolai made quick work of the locks, and they were inside within minutes. The central office was exactly what Maya had expected. Sterile, corporate, soulless. Filing cabinets lined the walls. Computers hummed in sleep mode. You take the digital records, Nikolai said. I'll handle the physical files. They worked in synchronized silence, Maya plugging a drive into the main computer while Nikolai photographed documents with practiced efficiency. It should have felt wrong, criminal, dangerous. Instead, it felt right, like they were finally doing what needed to be done. Maya was deep in the email server when she found it. A memo from the company's owner to all dentists, explicitly instructing them to diagnose cavities aggressively, to recommend crowns over fillings, to push cosmetic procedures. Maximize revenue per patient, it read. Remember, our bonus structure rewards productivity. Nikolai, she whispered. I found it. The smoking gun. He came to stand behind her, close enough that she could feel his body heat. That's malpractice. Systematic, intentional malpractice. This is going to destroy them. Good. They deserve it. Maya downloaded everything, her heart racing. This was bigger than they'd thought. This wasn't just negligence, it was coordinated fraud. Criminal fraud. They were about to leave when Maya noticed something else. A locked drawer in the main desk. Nikolai, can you? He already had his lockpicks out. 30 seconds later, the drawer opened. Inside were personal files, background checks on patients, people who'd complained about procedures, people who'd threatened to sue, and beside each name, notes. Settled for $5,000. Withdrew complaint after conversation with management. Decided not to pursue legal action. They're intimidating patients into silence, Maya breathed. Everyone who's tried to speak up, they've been bought off or scared off. Nikolai's expression turned to stone. This ends tonight. They took everything. Every file, every document, every piece of evidence. By the time they left, they had enough to bury the company. In the car, adrenaline still singing through her veins, Maya started laughing. The kind of laughter that borders on hysteria, relief and triumph and disbelief all tangled together. We did it, she said. We actually did it. Nikolai glanced at her, his lips curving into a smile. You did it. This was your investigation. We're a team. Yes, he said softly. We are. They drove back to the warehouse, but neither of them went inside immediately. Just sat in the car, watching the sun start to rise over the city, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Maya, Nikolai said, can I tell you something? Always. When I first met you, when I terrorized you in your father's clinic, I saw you as a means to an end. Justice for Alexei. Revenge, even, though I dressed it up in prettier words. You were just a tool I could use. Maya's chest tightened. That's honest. But somewhere along the way you stopped being a tool. You became, he turned to face her fully, you became the most important person in my life, the only person who sees all of me, the monster and the man, and doesn't flinch. Nikolai, I'm in love with you, he said simply. Desperately, completely, probably stupidly in love with you. And I know that's insane because of how we met, because of who I am, because I forced you into this situation. I know I have no right to feel this way, but I do. And I need you to know that before we take this evidence to the authorities, before our partnership changes, before, Maya kissed him, closed the distance between them and pressed her lips to his, cutting off his rambling confession with action instead of words. For a heartbeat, Nikolai froze. Then his hand came up to cradle her face, his other hand tangling in her hair, and he kissed her back like a drowning man finding air. It was nothing like Maya had imagined. It was better. Desperate and gentle and fierce all at once. It tasted like coffee and possibility, and the strange, miraculous idea that something good could grow from something terrible. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Nikolai's forehead rested against hers. I'm in love with you too, Maya whispered, which is absolutely insane, and my therapist is going to have a field day with this, but I don't care. You terrified me, yes, but you also showed me what it means to take action, to fight for what's right, to be brave even when you're scared. You're not the monster you think you are, Nikolai Volkov. You're the man who turned his grief into purpose, the man who could have chosen violence but chose change. And He kissed her again, swallowing the rest of her words. They stayed there until the sun was fully up, wrapped around each other in the front seat of an absurdly expensive car, making promises neither of them could quite believe they got to keep. The investigation exploded across the news 3 days later. The dental chain was shut down immediately. Federal charges filed. The owner arrested. Patients came forward in droves, sharing stories of unnecessary procedures, aggressive billing, intimidation tactics. It was exactly the kind of systemic exposure Maya had hoped for. Her father called, his voice thick with emotion. "Maya, the clinic, there are inspectors everywhere. They're going through everything. They know about the autoclave. They know about—" "I know," Maya said gently. "I'm sorry, Dad, but this is necessary." "You did this?" "I helped. Yes." A long silence, then, "I'm sorry. For all of it. For putting you in danger. For cutting corners. For prioritizing money over ethics. I'm so sorry. I know you are. And you're going to make this right. You're going to face the consequences, rebuild your practice the right way, and never, ever take shortcuts with people's health again. Agreed?" "Agreed." "Good. I love you, Dad, but I'm angry with you, and it's going to take time to rebuild trust." "I understand. Maya, who helped you? Who gave you the resources to take down an entire company?" Maya looked across the room to where Nikolai sat, watching her with those dark, intense eyes. "Someone who believes in second chances. For both of us." By month 8, Maya and Nikolai had documented violations at 37 clinics. 15 had been shut down. 8 were under investigation. The dental board had implemented new surprise inspection protocols. Lives had been saved. And Maya had moved into the warehouse. Not officially. She still had her apartment. But most nights, she ended up here, in Nikolai's space, surrounded by his books, and his art, and the man himself. They worked together during the day, investigating clinics and building cases. At night, they cooked dinner together. Nikolai was surprisingly good in the kitchen, and talked about everything and nothing. He taught her Russian phrases. She taught him to appreciate terrible reality TV. They were building something neither of them had expected. "My family wants to meet you," Nikolai said one evening. They were on the couch, Maya's feet in his lap while he absently massaged them. "Officially." Maya's heart jumped. "Your family, as in the Volkov family. As in my mother, my aunt, my cousins, the people who matter. Not the organization. You've already met some of them without realizing it. I mean, my actual family. That's terrifying. They'll love you. How can you possibly know that?" Nikolai smiled. "Because you're doing what Alexei would have wanted. Because you're making the world safer. And because—" He pulled her into his lap, his arms wrapping around her waist. "Because I love you, and they trust my judgment. Mostly. Sometimes. Very reassuring. They're going to ask when I'm going to marry you." Maya's breath caught. We've only been together for 3 months. 4, if you count from the first kiss. 8, if you count from when I fell for you." "When was that?" "The first night, when you called me and offered yourself in exchange for 9 strangers. I knew then that you were extraordinary." Maya twisted in his arms to face him. "Nikolai Volkov, was that your way of proposing?" "God, no. When I propose, it's going to be much better than that. There will be a plan. Probably a grand gesture. Definitely a ring that costs more than most people's cars. I know you don't need it, but I want to give it to you anyway. I want to give you everything." He cupped her face, his thumb brushing her cheekbone. "You saved me, Maya. From becoming the monster I was afraid I'd become. You showed me there's another way, a better way." "We saved each other," Maya corrected. "You gave me purpose. You taught me to be brave. So when I do propose, hypothetically at some point in the future, what would you say?" Maya pretended to consider. "Hypothetically? I'd probably say yes." "Probably. Definitely, I'd definitely say yes." Nikolai kissed her then, slow and deep and full of promise. The year came to an end on a Tuesday. They'd documented violations at 43 clinics. 20 had been shut down. Countless patients had been protected from negligent or fraudulent care. The entire landscape of dental regulation in Chicago had shifted. Nikolai had called a meeting at the warehouse, formal, official, with his lawyer present. Maya arrived expecting paperwork, the official end of their deal. Instead, she walked into a room full of people. Alexei's widow stood there, holding the hand of a little girl with dark curls. Other families Maya didn't recognize. And Nikolai, in the center of it all, watching her with an expression that made her heart stutter. "Maya Chen," Nikolai said formally, "your year of service is complete. You fulfilled our agreement beyond anything I could have hoped. You've made Chicago safer. You've prevented future tragedies. You've honored Alexei's memory better than revenge ever could." Maya's throat tightened. Thank you." "These families," Nikolai continued, gesturing to the people around him, "represent patients who were helped by your work, people who might have been hurt by negligent care, but weren't, because you exposed the problems before it was too late. They wanted to meet you, to thank you." One by one, people approached, shook her hand, hugged her, told her stories of near misses, of procedures that had been scheduled at now shuttered clinics, of relatives whose health problems had been caught by the new inspection protocols. By the time the last person finished, Maya was crying openly. "There's one more thing," Nikolai said. He pulled out a document, official and legal. "This is your contract, our agreement. 1 year of service in exchange for sparing 9 people. The contract is fulfilled. You're free." He handed her the paper and a lighter. Maya looked at the contract, then at Nikolai. "You want me to burn it?" "I want you to be free of it. Free of any obligation, any coercion, any sense that you have to be here. And then—" He dropped to one knee. Maya's breath stopped. "And then," Nikolai continued, pulling a small box from his pocket, "I want to ask you, as a free woman with complete autonomy and no pressure whatsoever, if you'll marry me. Not because of a deal, not because I forced you, but because I love you more than I thought it was possible to love another person. Because you make me better. Because I want to spend the rest of my life being your partner in every sense of the word." He opened the box, revealing a ring that caught the light and scattered it like stars. "Maya Chen, will you marry me?" Maya looked at the contract in her hand. The thing that had bound them together. The thing that had started with terror and evolved into love. She flicked the lighter, watching the paper catch fire, watching their old agreement burn away to ash. Then she dropped to her knees in front of Nikolai, taking his face in her hands. "Yes," she said. "Yes, yes. 1,000 times, yes." The room erupted in applause as Nikolai slid the ring onto her finger and kissed her like they were the only 2 people in the world. Later, after the crowd had dispersed and they were alone in the warehouse, Maya sat curled against Nikolai's chest, watching the city lights through the window. "Your mother is terrifying, by the way," she said. Nikolai laughed. "She liked you." "She interrogated me about my intentions toward her son for 20 minutes. "Only 20? She's getting soft in her old age." Maya smiled, twisting the ring on her finger. "Do you think Alexei would approve? Of us?" "I think Alexei would say I'm the luckiest bastard alive," Nikolai said softly. "And he'd be right. I'm the lucky one. You took the worst night of my life and turned it into—" She gestured at the ring, at the space around them, at the life they'd built. "Into this." "We built this," Nikolai corrected. "Together. And we're going to keep building it. Together." "What's next?" Maya asked. "After Chicago's dental clinics are all properly regulated and we run out of investigations?" Nikolai's arms tightened around her. "I was thinking we could expand. Milwaukee, Detroit, maybe the whole Midwest. Someone has to make sure medical care is safe and ethical. Might as well be us." "Partners in crime fighting?" "Partners in everything." Maya tilted her head back to look at him. This man who'd terrified her with threats of violence. This man who'd instead taught her courage. This man who'd chosen change over revenge, who'd turned his grief into purpose, who'd somehow become her entire world. I love you, Nikolai Volkov. I love you too, Maya Chen. Soon to be Maya Volkov, if you want. I want everything with you, Maya said. The name, the life, the partnership, all of it. Then it's yours, Nikolai promised. Always. Outside, the sun set over Chicago, painting the sky in shades of fire and gold. Tomorrow would bring new investigations, new challenges, new clinics to inspect. But tonight, Maya and Nikolai just held each other. Two people who'd found something beautiful in the aftermath of tragedy. 9 people had been spared. Countless others had been protected. And, somehow, impossibly, 2 hearts had found each other in the process. It was the kind of ending that shouldn't work, the kind of love story that shouldn't exist. But it did, and it was real, and it was theirs. The city lights glittered like promises, and for the first time in a year, Maya wasn't afraid of what tomorrow might bring. Because whatever came next, she wouldn't face it alone. She'd face it with the man who'd started as her captor and become her champion. The man who'd given her purpose. The man who'd taught her that sometimes the most beautiful things grow from the darkest moments. What are you thinking? Nikolai asked. Maya smiled. I'm thinking that if you'd told me a year ago that the man who terrorized me in my father's clinic would become my fiancé, I'd have thought you were insane. Fair assessment. But I'd have been wrong, because you're not the man who walked into that clinic looking for revenge. You're better than that. You've always been better than that. Only because you showed me how, Nikolai said. You saw past the monster to the man underneath. No one else ever bothered to look. Their loss, Maya said firmly, and my gain. She kissed him then, soft and sweet and full of all the tomorrows they'd build together. Outside the city hummed with life, with people going about their evening, unaware that somewhere in a warehouse in Chicago, 2 people had just made a promise that would change everything. No more deals, no more threats, no more fear. Just love and partnership and the fierce determination to keep making the world a little bit safer, one dental clinic at a time. It was strange. It was unconventional. It was absolutely perfect. And Maya Chen, who'd started this journey terrified and alone, now had everything she'd never known she wanted. A purpose, a partner, and a love story that began with the words, "You're missing teeth," and ended with a ring on her finger, and a future bright with possibility. Sometimes the best endings are the ones you never saw coming.